Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back to them, or do you want to stay with Donald Trump?
Trump.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so politically, if I was to say the words Silicon Valley, what comes to mind? Well, a bunch of concepts, right? Personally, the first thing that comes to mind is election interference, but that's not really what I'm fishing for here. What I'm looking for, and what definitely crossed a lot of your minds, is partisan Democrat, far left. Poop on the streets and pretending as if, that's what it is to be a hipster leftist. Dogs accidentally sniffing fentanyl in the streets and suffering cardiac arrest. Well, that's what it is to be a progressive. Kids walking over hypodermic needles, getting off at the bus stop after school. Well, that's just tolerance now, wasn't it? That's the liberal utopia of San Francisco. Anyways, you get the point. San Francisco, Silicon Valley, two places that are synonymous with left-wing policies, left-wing politics. Well, maybe not so much anymore. Maybe the shift is so widespread that it isn't just happening in places along the East Coast and in places like Nevada. Maybe it's not just black voters and Hispanic voters. It might also be happening in the tech world of Silicon Valley, as an extremely prominent group of Silicon Valley tech investors just grouped up not only to endorse Donald Trump, but to launch a massive, what is being called mega fundraiser in the billionaire city for none other than President Donald J. Trump. Can anybody say the Democrats' worst nightmare? I know I certainly can. Nancy Pelosi's probably throwing a hissy fit somewhere. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so the headline's pretty clear. It speaks mostly for itself. Silicon Valley investors embrace Trump after years of leaning left. Quote, impossible to support Biden. Some Silicon Valley venture capitalists have begun to turn against President Biden while openly touting their support for President Donald J. Trump. A sea change for an industry that has overwhelmingly supported Democrats in years past. Prominent moguls such as David Sachs, Chamath Palihapitiya, Mark Anderson, and Sean McGuire have grown disillusioned with signature Biden policy proposals, such as his call for a 25% quote billionaire tax, as well as antitrust crackdowns waged by the Federal Trade Commission. It's impossible to support Biden. Keith Raboy, an early executive at PayPal who also played a role in the growth of LinkedIn, Square, and Slide, told the New York Times. Tech executives are also unhappy with the stringent regulations imposed on the cryptocurrency sector by Gary Gensler, Biden's pick to head the Securities and Exchange Commission. The tech investors of Silicon Valley are grouping up together to get Donald Trump elected. You heard that right. And it's no surprise, after years of doing the Democrats' bidding, Joe Biden, or more accurately Joe Biden's handlers, the DNC at large, well, they've turned on their own, constantly throwing billionaires under the bus in their political rhetoric and even some of their policies. The whole tax the rich into oblivion stance that they adopted from Bernie Sanders to appeal to young voters, it's having an effect. It's having a negative effect on the DNC. And good. It should. That kind of political rhetoric, first of all, is exactly what led to communism in the past, kind of a red flag, and secondly, it's utterly dishonest. It's built upon this idea that the billionaire class is just a bunch of business moguls sitting on bars of gold, hoarding all the country's wealth and keeping it to themselves, which obviously couldn't be further from the truth, especially not for Silicon Valley billionaires and investors. They're called venture capitalists. One of them was just mentioned, Keith Raboy, an early executive at PayPal, and a man who played a pivotal role in the growth at LinkedIn, Square, and Slide, different tech startups. All of these guys are fueling American innovation. These are all the people who are injecting mass amounts of money into creating jobs and creating companies, into innovating and pushing the country forward. Billionaires aren't sitting on money. Who the frick would sit on money knowing the government's just going to print trillions upon trillions, devaluing currency and making you poorer by the day? People with large sums of money are investing that money into job creation or into creating housing or commercial space. They're investing in the things that make the country great. But now they're being demonized, they're being used as political boogeymen, and it seems as though they've had enough. Not only are these tech billionaires coming out publicly saying things like it's impossible to support Biden, but they're also putting their money where their mouth is, launching a mega fundraiser for Donald Trump. Take a look at this invite that's being sent out to some of the most wealthy Silicon Valley and San Francisco residents. Reception and dinner with President Donald J. Trump in San Francisco, California on Thursday, Thursday, June 6, 2024. Host committee, $300,000 per person, $500,000 per couple. Host committee, VIP roundtable and dinner with preferred seating and photo opportunity. VIP attendee, $50,000 per person, photo opportunity, and reception. They're not calling it a mega fundraiser for nothing. This could possibly not only break records, but shatter fundraising records, which Donald Trump did with his previous event. I mean, it could possibly surpass that last number. Remember when Joe Biden fundraised, I think, what was it, $25 million, and Democrats were taunting Donald Trump as being broke, unable to fundraise with no money in the coffer? Well, I called it, didn't I? We were still in the Republican nomination process in the Republican primary. The real general election campaign fundraising hadn't even started, and now it is starting, and Trump's about to break records never seen before. You know, the shift continues, and the more this happens, the more people will jump on the Trump train. The reality is there's a whole lot of people, especially rich people, who move in elite circles and they're simply Democrats because that's the popular thing to do. Well, that seems to be changing. You know, there's a clip we played I think last week where Sharon Osbourne was talking about all the secret Republican voters in Hollywood.
The question is it salvageable? Do you think it's salvageable here?
I don't think you're going to see any change here in the next 4 years, put it that way. This is a long-term effort to get this city back to what it was.
What will it take, though? Because in my opinion, people here don't change the way they vote. Even if they don't believe it, they kind of stick to whatever is comfortable.
There's a lot of people in this town, let me tell you, that say that they're Democrats, but they don't vote for the Democrat. They vote for the Republican.
They
because
just
of
keep it quiet?
taxes. They keep it quiet. So many people. Believe me, especially in film and music.
Well, maybe nowadays it's going to be not so secret after all. As this trend continues, maybe a lot more people will feel comfortable in endorsing and supporting Donald Trump. And if that happens, it's game over. One of the biggest strengths that Democrats have, the reason why they've been so prominent, especially since the Obama years, is because of this environment that they've fostered, deeming it almost socially unacceptable to support a Republican, to be a Republican. You have to be a Democrat if you want to exist in those spaces. If that is no longer the case, and now celebrities, more and more as we're seeing, start feeling more comfortable supporting Republicans and Donald Trump, well, Democrats have lost their cultural power, they've lost their grip on culture. And now some of the most prominent, some of the most inspirational, some of the most successful Americans are saying that they find it impossible to vote for Joe Biden, and this comes after Elon Musk at the start of this year, after admitting that he voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
President Trump is allowed back on the platform. He hasn't actually come back.
Right.
But one would imagine if and when he does, or there are others who will say 2020 election was rigged. Is that something, I assume that's not something you believe?
Well, I think the answer is nuanced. Like, do I believe Biden won? Yes, I believe he won.
And you voted for it.
I did.
Well, after that, he released a massive viral tweet responding to the video where he said, quote, "I cannot see myself voting for Biden this time." He didn't directly endorse Donald Trump, but it's pretty much as close as you're going to get. And who knows, maybe during this election, he might come out in support of Donald Trump. The tides are changing. The tides are shifting, and shifting fast. Joe Biden continues to sink further and further and further, and Donald Trump just keeps getting great news. He's building a coalition of support here. I don't know what's going to happen in November, but it could be absolutely huge. That's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.